So when's the last time you asked someone you were dating about their relationship with God or how often they go to church?
I'm trying to get them to ignore their relationship with God. So probably never. Like, I don't think...
Terrible.
Like, are we being honest or are we being...
You know what? And this is why years later, you're having arguments about whether or not your kid is going to Sunday school or, how come you only go to church with your ex?
Yeah, like I didn't meet you in the church, B. Like, but today it makes sense. I think it's time for us to go there. We're coming out of the Lenten season, so we're going to talk about religion, identity, partnership, and parenting. Where else are you going to get that but the Parents and Professors podcast? Let's get it.
Yo, parents, yo, parents, yo, parents and professors. Yo, parents, yo, parents, yo, parents and professors.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Parents and Professors podcast with your favorite triple C's, co-parents, colleagues, and collaborators. This is a podcast where we explore the intersection of co-parenting, education, and anything else we happen to find interesting at the time. I'm Dr. Michael Stephen Williams.
And I'm Dr. Marjorie Williams. And today we are getting into a topic I think we just realized that we and by we mean the social we, the collective we, really don't talk enough about. And I think that's religion, particularly in the context of dating and partnership, parenting and divorce, spirituality, faith, like all of that. And so what does that mean for you to navigate that, not just as an individual, but also when you add kids to the picture?
Yeah, I think it's also a recognition that the personal is political, probably now more than ever. And so we're actually, as Catholics, we're just coming to the end of the Lenten season, and it's given us an opportunity to reflect on communication, miscommunication, all the things that can kind of happen.
Also how we're being persecuted right now.
Yeah. Oh, no, Catholics are being actively persecuted.
It's our time.
Yeah. It's time to step to the front. So in this episode, I think we're planning to cover about 3 things. We'll see where the conversation goes. First is thinking about how religion shapes who we are as individuals. Next is thinking about how it shapes or can kind of compromise based on partnership, like how does religion influence or interact with your partnership? And then the third is something we're always concerned with, which is like how do you communicate religion and religious values
to the kids?
To your children.
And I had Makari ask me a really interesting question, but I'll save it for later.
Oh, you're gonna save it?
Yeah. We're into religion.
Yeah.
I was stumped for a second.
Oh, it's interesting. Maya had a crazy little light bulb go off recently. She was like, Tati used to be married to Daddy? And it was
oh no, really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she was trying to explain that to Maximilian and Makari, which is like the funniest part to me. So yeah, we're gonna bridge the personal and professional. Think a little bit about like identity development, which is a common theme that we explore here. But also just a reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The views we share are our own, and our discussions are based on personal experiences, publicly available information, and general industry knowledge. We're not your therapist. We're not your pastor. We're not your cool auntie. We're not your lawyers. We're 2 professors who happen to also be co-parents navigating how these things come up in real life and sharing it with you as a part of our ministry.
Yes.
I think in a way, really, if you're thinking about it, like it is part of the ministry.
Yeah.
It's that, a lot of the conversations that we've had in the wake of our divorce, a lot of the conversations that we've had in figuring out how to be the best co-parents we can for our kids are things that weren't readily available to us. And we didn't have a whole lot of like guides and opportunities to push in that way. And so we see this as an opportunity to do that.
So, as always, anything we reference, we'll make sure that there are show notes down below, and we'll go ahead and get into it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
Oh, well, I'm actually starting. So, like, let's build the context. What did Easter look like for you growing up?
Oh, growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what did Easter look like for you growing up? Before you get to, the sins of the
spicy stuff.
Yeah, the sins of the recent weekend.
Easter was an event. So there was the, shopping for your Easter clothes. That's when you'd get new shoes. The boys would get their ties. My mom would take us to JCPenney's.
You got to pluralize JCPenney's.
Isn't it? It's JCPenney's. Everybody knows that. And if you don't say it that way, that's your problem. But so I am Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And Easter was like the Super Bowl of like Catholic holy days of obligation. It was everyone's going to be there. There are going to be parties. Mass is going to have all of the pageantry and the show and the blessing and the music, especially growing up in New York. So we went to Haitian Catholic Mass, often in Queens or Brooklyn. So it was a thing. It's a whole day thing. And then we're visiting relatives in Brooklyn. We're having dinner 3 times during the day. Like it's
3 dinners.
There are 3 dinners. Because every stop is, there's food. So yeah, it was a significant part of, I think, both my childhood, right? Like this is going to be an event, and also a part of my, I think, religious and faith identity development. Mm-hmm. That this is what you do on Easter. This is how you observe Easter.
That's interesting to me because, those of you who listen probably know already that I'm a child of a military family. And because my religious practices growing up were always related to whoever the adults I happened to be in proximity to at the time. Mm-hmm. Like I've practiced so many different religions, or I've like visited on the religious traditions of so many friends that I've seen kind of like all different denominations and how they do Easter. And I've always just been generally jealous because,
Wait, what?
So I remember, I had homies with funny names growing up. So like one of my homies' name was Buster, and this is when I was living in Oakland. And Buster's family treated Easter like it was Christmas. Oh, they would get new suits. They would get Super Nintendos. They would get like real
gifts.
Yeah. And I was like,
gifts.
Easter is fire in their family. Like. That is not how we do Easter at all. Like we might get a honey baked ham. We might, right? Like, and
it's very different. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was never, I've seen so many people make Resurrection Sunday a way bigger deal than it really was for me growing up, that I've like always carried, and obviously it's like anti-religious to be envious, but I'm like, ooh, like when do I get to get down with this? Like Easter is like Christmas, so I can start putting in orders early. Like I need to make sure that I'm behaving really well as Easter approaches. And I even thought, for me, it wasn't until I grew up and I converted to Catholicism through marriage, like doing the RCIA, that I was like, oh, Easter now makes sense to me because the Lenten season precedes Easter. And if you're a little kid, that's a good time for you to, that's a good time for you to make sure that you're not on the naughty list. So, right, like when you know Christmas is coming, you're like, yo,
I'm get your life together.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be getting cold, B. Like, I'm not trying to get my gifts restricted. So I'm going to get it together. And I'm like, oh, Lent is kind of that, but it's like more formal for Easter.
Right. It's the pre-Easter. Like, hey, get it together.
Yeah. Like
Easter is coming.
Yeah, Easter is coming. And if you want to get blessed with fire new suits and button downs and dope shoes for church and for real life and video games,
you have to
then you need
accordingly.
You need to do whatever you need to do in the Lenten season.
I just wanted to, like a little side note. So RCIA, which Michael mentioned, is the Right for Christian
Initiation for Adults.
Yes. So there's like a course that you go through, and I would go back. It was so much fun. So it's like how long was it? Like a semester long experience? A year long?
Yeah, it felt like, I would guess 6 months if you
it feels like pledging.
Yeah, because it was a while, and there were a lot of meetings. Like there were a lot of
like every
showing
week
up and having conversation.
Yeah,
I think there were things that surprised me about it.
It was so good.
So even the idea of, I think one of the failings of religious tradition often is inattention to sex and sexuality. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like, oh, it's just abstinence, and if not abstinence, we don't want to talk about it, which I don't think allows the space for people to develop healthy ideas and identities around that. Like the people that I would consider the most healthy around sex and sexuality that I've ever met in my life are people who were able to have those conversations with their parents. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, I'm choosing not to have sex because like that's not what I feel like I want to do.
It's not aligned with my values.
This is not aligned with my values.
Versus the, doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Fire and brimstone, don't do it.
But also the natural reaction that comes from that from children.
Right.
So if you're gonna tell me don't do something, then now I'm like, all right,
I'm gonna go do it.
This must be popping.
Like, what are you trying to hide from me?
Yeah, and I was like, wait, is this something that you do?
Right.
And you're telling me not to do it based on what exactly?
Yeah, that's the thing I will never say to my kids. Like, I will share my expectations. I will talk about safe and unsafe and wise and unwise choices, but never, ever, ever will I be like, don't do it.
Yeah,
in that way.
Please avoid disease and pregnancy unless it's on purpose.
And they're like, yuck, Mom.
Yeah. And like, otherwise, like, just know that I'm here. I'm a sounding board.
Yes.
I'm here to have conversations.
So that was Easter.
Yeah, Easter was a big deal. So let's bring it to contemporary times because it sounds like you have a gripe.
I don't have a gripe. I have a reflection. Now it's a reflection.
Okay.
Yes, yesterday it might have been a gripe.
Was it a gripe when you were talking to your person?
My friend?
Yes.
It was a little gripey. But, I got that out of my system now. I took a step back, as we've mentioned in prior episodes. I reflected on what am I feeling and thinking? What am I responding to? So Easter.
Easter 2026.
The kids were with you this weekend.
Yes. Easter was also the same weekend as Makari's birthday.
Yeah, so there was a lot happening, which I recognized.
And a canceled soccer game.
And a canceled soccer game. So there was a lot of moving parts. There was a lot happening. Also, your mom and brother are in town.
Yes, which also means that we're potting in a different location, as you can see. Represent. Love you, Mom. Love you, Byron. Mwah.
So a lot of moving parts. And we were talking about, hey, what mass are we going to get to? And maybe doing dinner on, for Easter. So like either dinner or something else. I am an early mass person. I like to be the first one in and the first one out. I didn't do that on Sunday. In fact, I was like, because the first one would have been the 7 o'clock. And I was like, that's aggressive.
That's too early, B.
It's too early. I was like, 8:30, we can do it. And then we'd have the whole day.
I think there's also you have to be careful what you're agreeing to in
the moment.
Different states of mind. Right. So Makaria's birthday is interesting this year. And I didn't even get to my post yet. I'll wait. I'll probably do that later today or maybe even tomorrow because it doesn't have to be on her actual birthday. But I do want to just appreciate her. But Makari's birthday, first thing she was supposed to have a soccer tournament.
No. First it was a Jack and Jill event.
Oh, first it was a Jack and Jill event.
So we had to reschedule that.
Yeah. Then it was a soccer game.
Yes. Then it was
which
a soccer game.
also got rescheduled.
Then that got rescheduled.
Which is like still relatively last minute.
It was all very last minute.
Yeah. And then she wanted to do a sleepover, but because of all the fluctuations with the schedule, that didn't work. So you ended up getting to hang out with her and do kind of like a mommy-daughter thing the day before her birthday.
The night before.
And then the day of, she was like, we're like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want for your birthday? And she was like, oh, like, I just want to play games. Like, I want to. She's a huge family game night person, which I really appreciate because I love, if there's anything that I love that she received from her parents, it is a strong sense of competition.
I thought you were going to say community.
Well, I think community and competition go hand in hand. Like if I think of the communities that I've been a part of that have been most meaningful to me that I remain in, my fraternity community, there's like a healthy competition between lines. Like my line's better than yours. Sure. My people I play basketball with, like we're friends, but I'm trying to kill you on the court. Like that's not a...
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like spades. I love you, but we're playing spades. I'm gonna and talk all the shit in the world, dominoes, whatever. And so there's so much community. And I also realize that the older I get, the more that I pay attention to not only the formal act of playing games, but also all the informal things that come in the ecosystem when you're just around each other. Because you have different opportunities to have conversations. You get to see how people deal with conflict. You get
they think.
Yeah, how they think, and we're playing games that start arguments. My family, all 6 of them.
What? Hold on.
Yeah.
Y'all.
So I will, no, get out of here.
Y'all.
You're right there with it. You get pulled in and you be screaming just as crazy. And but Donna, Marjorie, Maximilian, Makaria. Maya is on the way.
No, because she totally be talking about Zero Club too. So she's in there.
She's there. She's on the way. She's even she's learning how to talk shit right now. They are crazy competitive. And we're family game night has turned into a shouting match on multiple occasions, right? Across different games.
It's like, go ahead then. I don't care. We could go ahead and lose. That's fine.
Yeah. But we end up having the full family game night. We're hanging out. The adults are partaking in beverages. We're kicking it. It's like midnight. Marjorie.
No, I left before midnight.
Nah, you left right close to midnight.
No. It was like 10. I was home by.
It was almost 11.
I was home by 11.
Okay. It was almost 11 because it was pretty late.
But it was late. It was like 10 something. And I was like, okay, it is time to wrap this up.
You left, but then another game of Uno broke out.
That was on y'all.
Yeah, and that took us past midnight.
That was on y'all.
And so there were some agreements made during the earlier portion of game night. It was like, oh, hey, family, we're going to go to 8 o'clock mass for Easter tomorrow.
8:30.
8:30, see? And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And then you're up till 2 and nobody set any alarms and people are asleep on the couch. I was like, oh, I was like, all right, we're still going to go to mass, but let's just figure it out. And then I look at my phone and I'm getting text messages from you and it's like sad, single little Haitian orphan, the fly in the milk in this all white church.
That is
by yourself with
absolutely what I felt like.
none of the 5 other members of your family. I'm like, all right, we're going to go to church. Like, church is important. Like, we're going to be there.
And I'm glad yes.
Yeah. But our time did not sync up.
No, it did not sync up. So I will say all of that makes total sense. And I understand it. And 8:30 was ambitious to begin with. I can recognize that.
Ambitious is, yes.
I go to 8:30 mass. But the thing, so what struck me though in that moment, and here's where we sort of wanted to pull this discussion here, were a couple of things. So one is I am Catholic. And not only am I Catholic, but I am Catholic in a majority white city.
I feel like almost every parish we've been to has been mostly white though.
I mean, Catholics are predominantly white, like,
yeah,
unless you are in cities where then you can find.
Because we randomly stumbled on that like Black Oklahoma City mass.
Yes, and it was
like,
fantastic. Me and the kids went to mass when we were in Atlanta, and we went to, I'm forgetting it. It was like the first Black or Catholic church, I think, in the area. Amazing experience. I was like in tears. Right, growing up, I went to Haitian mass. So I recognize that this is the community that I'm a part of. It is a majority white community. I recognize that. I've come to terms with it when people make jokes about, the music and we love a Catholic mass because you're efficient and you're in and out. And there's no, we're very by the book. And I laugh along and that's fine. But on Sunday, I felt like because my expectation was that my family was going to be there with me, and to see all of these white families
white
in attendance,
spelled HWITE,
right? And people that I know you don't go to church. Like your wife and the kids come to church, but I know you don't go to church because I have never seen you, right? Like not being able to share that with my family was something that I felt deeply. And I was really sad. Oh, like I'm getting emotional now. I was mostly sad. I was like sad and disappointed. And I realized that, so much of being in this space is me showing up in a lot of different ways. It's, I show up with the kids and it's just me and the kids. But I feel like when you go to Catholic church, people don't assume that you're like single or divorced because lots of moms only show up with their kids, right?
Yeah.
And so in some ways it feels like comfortable and safe, but in others it's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's always kind of the social judgment side of any kind of participation in religious communities that you don't really think about. And so whatever it is what it is. Like we got married through the Catholic Church. Yeah. But we haven't taken the steps to annul the marriage.
Shh, don't tell people that.
Yeah.
Apparently it's a big deal.
Yeah, but like there's so many things that like you think about or don't think about. So I know for me, one of the privileges that I have as the father of 3 children, where I'm like the actual biological link between my ex-wife and my current wife and like all 3 of my children, is that I feel comfortable showing up with my kids pretty much anywhere that they would be. And if anything, they're like rare exceptions. So an example would be, we lost one of your aunts recently. That's a place that I would have liked to be.
Yeah.
That like, I don't know that without asking a question or without, it can be hindsight where people are like, where's Mike? How come Mike didn't come? I'm like, oh, I didn't really realize I was allowed to come.
Right.
Or even there's a version of that with Patrick and Richard, so your brothers have children now. Mm-hmm. We obviously got married before almost everybody. Yeah. Our children are the oldest, son is 15, daughter just turned 13. Like our children are teenagers while other people's kids are like...
They're celebrating 3.
Yeah, they're like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years younger. But I know that one of the things that I don't appreciate is feeling like I'm missing out on seeing Knox and like the little kids grow up, because I'm still Uncle Mike. Like we might not be married, but because we function so well as a co-parenting unit and because most of the places that we navigate, we still navigate together, I don't feel like I should be offhand excluded from things like that. But it's also easy to just not be there because of the nature of like, oh, I'm at home, you're traveling with the big kids, it's a family event. I'm not necessarily like going to be a plus one to everybody's wedding or to like every funeral. But it does create this distance in this space that you don't really think about traversing until it's kind of like too late. And so that's a note in my head that I'd like wanted to put out for you. Didn't know that the first time I was going to say it was actually going to be on the podcast. But it's like, yeah, like I would like to hang out with Richard and Stephanie's kids. I would like to hang out with Patrick and Ashley's kids.
Yeah.
Maya is the same age as a lot of them, and she would have a great time, and they would just be running around
in
crazy.
the mix.
Yeah, and so like I'm thinking about like, okay, when we go to the East Coast for the summertime and we figure out everything with the kids, like I would like there to be a time where like everybody could be together.
Yeah,
and where
yeah.
like because Maya,
She has this whole other side of the family.
yeah, and Maximilian and Makaria are her brother and sister, regardless. And so, like, I want her to be comfortable and accepted in wherever Maximilian and Makaria feel like they're comfortable and accepted. And I think that includes your side of the family, despite the fact that we're divorced. And so it's like there's so many things packed into it that you could easily miss. And I think from a religious identity standpoint, part of this Easter conversation for me is that, like, you know, church is an important part of my life. I think that my behavior toward church might suggest something else because I'm a person that doesn't go all the time. Right? Like, I know people who
Judgment-free zone.
Well, I've said it in my head, and I know it's like one of the goals that I've written down. Like, all right, I want to go to church at least 12 times a year. So, like, if I go once a month and like show up in the community and show up with my kids
consistently,
then like I'll feel good about that, and like let me do that and then build up. Like, oh, maybe I go from 12 to 24. Maybe to me, it's not dissimilar from like recording a podcast. Like,
just do it.
Yeah, but like you need to just do it, and you can have these pie in the sky ideas about like, oh, we need to do 52 episodes in a year because that's an episode a week. But like, it doesn't matter what you say to yourself; it just matters what you actually show up and do.
Yeah.
And so I know that I could be sending a mixed message about the importance of religious identity develop and my own religious identity by, I'll make sure that my kids are at all of their Catholic learning initiatives during the week. Mm-hmm. I'll make sure that they get to mass. I'll make sure that they get to church class. But if I'm not going myself, then there's a way in which I'm probably not leading and I'm not conveying that. But that also sends messages to my wife about the importance of it. Mm-hmm. Because in a lot of ways, my wife has inherited my religious tradition that I got from my first marriage, right? So like which
is like an interesting dynamic.
But it is, and it's also, it creates conversations that you don't even necessarily really think about.
Like what?
Well, one is, you know, my wife is a Creaster at best, right?
Wait,
and so like,
for those who may not know, Creasters are folks who only go to mass at Christmas and Easter. So those are generally the days that they observe if they go at all.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, you know, Christmas and Easter are like the Super Bowl of Christian holidays. So like everybody wants to go to a Super Bowl party.
Yeah, it's a party.
And even being, you know, I go to mass enough to know that there are triple the people in this Easter mass than are traditionally in mass. And like I would never claim to be, you know, Captain Church. I'm in there every week. I'm helping out.
Multiple times a
I'm
week.
bringing the gifts. I'm showing up for confession. Like I'm not that, but it is important to me and it is a part of who I am. And it is a very important part of who I want my children to be. Mm-hmm. And so it's a mirror for me. Like this weekend is kind of a mirror. And even the last couple of weeks have been a mirror for the fact that I've allowed the fact that I felt completely overwhelmed in my personal and professional life, both by things beyond my control, whether it's, you know, losing multiple people that I love to cancer, whether it's the vestiges of elder care, whether it's a completely unstable situation fiscally in some of the work things that I'm dealing with, both in terms of like, oh, we're still dealing with the aftermath of canceled grants. Yeah. I'm still fighting with some organizations that shall not be named who owe me thousands of dollars for work that I already did, who got the money that they were supposed to pay me with canceled and are like trying to scrape it and figure it out, which is creating downstream consequences. Oh, we can't pay this bill. Oh, I need to wait on that. Right. Like, yeah, I recognize that those stresses have given me an excuse to be like, when it's the weekend, I just want to rest. When for me, part of a truly rested state is one where I feel spiritually aligned and like spiritually connected to whatever's going on. Like I've been praying, I've been meditating, I've been sitting with whatever those issues are and letting them toss around in my mind. And so it's almost like not going to the gym because your body doesn't feel good, but then the gym is what makes your body feel good.
I was going to say the exact same thing. It is very much it's just like to me, you know, it's the gym for your spirit, for your soul, right? For your mental state. And so I get up before the sun o'clock, and from the moment my alarm goes off until I get in front of my trainer and things start to happen. And even then I'm like, oh, it's cold. I want to be in bed. Oh, it's so early. Right? Like I'm doing that the whole way through as I get dressed, as I get into the car, pull into the parking lot, get into the gym. And every single time when I leave the gym, I'm like, oh,
glad I did that.
That felt so good. I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
Church is
Church is very similar.
Similar, right? Like, it's funny. I was talking to the kids about, she's come up a lot in conversation. One of my most favorite teachers ever in life, my elementary school teacher, I guess kind of scholar shout out, right? Karen Flores Durkin. And Mrs. Durkin used to say to us, the Lord gave you your life. I think you can give him an hour a week. And it's like, well, how selfish do you effing look, right?
Yeah. There's got to be a remix version of that for your kids.
I was like, yeah.
Life. You could give me chores.
You can wash these dishes.
Yeah, it's like, I give you every dollar I have. I should, how dare you? Oh, there was there's a GIF going around that I was cracking up about. And it's like, you watch your kid scramble and pick up 75 eggs in 15 minutes, and they still haven't cleaned their room.
Oh, yes.
That part.
With the quickness. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things wrapped up in religion and religious identity and how that manifests, I think, in our lives, in our relationships. And to me, so coming into this conversation, I think one of the things that really interests me, and like we always talk about, is like, well, what does the research say? And so in general, religion is good for you.
Yeah.
Right? There are all of these, I think, social, psychological, emotional skills that you develop through consistent religious practice. And I feel like understanding, and I feel like this deserves a caveat, like religion is not the end all be all. Religion is created and practiced by man, so it is flawed, and we recognize that.
And you could be a good person without having had access to some of the traditional world religions.
Yes, this is not all or nothing. But for those who choose to or find religion useful, I think there's a lot of positive that comes out of it and is supported by, the research. So I feel like, when we think about our experiences, there's no one size fits all about how do we practice or think about or demonstrate our religion. How do we share that with other people? But there, like always, there are and exist a body of work and research that thinks about how we tie that to our development. How do we tie that to...
Yeah. So there's some really cool work in general. And what the conversation took my mind to was like two different places. So one is Matt Mayhew and all the work they do on like religious identity development and moral development out of The Ohio State University, my PhD granting institution.
You're going to say that.
Shout to the Ideals Project. So we'll link to that in the show notes because I think, especially for the scholars among us, it's a good place to think about and just gather some information about the latest and greatest that is happening as it relates to student affairs. But when I was thinking about a tie-in for the professor segment of our time, like what kept popping back into my mind was Chickering and Riser. And so one of the vectors, so if you're anywhere near student affairs and student development theory, you've heard about Chickering. You've heard about the 7 vectors. But the vector that I think is like most connected to what we're talking about is the vector that talks about developing integrity. And so for me, integrity as a word is one that I feel like is under assault right now in the public sphere. So like, what does it mean to have integrity? What does it mean to operate with integrity? I do not think that our religious conversation has made it into some of the mainstream political movements of our country.
I think in the wrong ways.
Yeah, in a backward way, but not in a way that is connected to this idea of integrity.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking about it as it relates to Chickering and Riser, developing integrity is really about the process that students, so it's talking about college students, but I think people, it relates to people, but especially our kids, because we're talking adults. About, it's like, how do they develop a belief system? Like, how do they develop not just a belief system, but a value system? And how do they personalize it? How does that value system become their own? And so for me, there's 3 pieces of the Chickering and Riser conversation that I think are valuable as you think about the developmental trajectory for children, but also the developmental trajectory for college students. And it's like the stage 1 humanize, the stage 2 personalize, and then the stage 3 develop congruence. So like,
what does that mean?
So if you're developing integrity, right? Humanizing values is really related to this idea of like starting to see rules and beliefs in relation to like real people and real contexts. Like recognizing that somebody could be a good person and still be a human being. Like it could be a person who believes differently than you and could still have a point to how they go about it. And so like humanizing values is really just seeing how it connects to people in different walks of life and different approaches, and not assuming that just because you've been exposed to one way of being or one way of thinking, that that's the end all be all. Personalizing values is really when you kind of choose and commit to your own values and beliefs, not just the ones that you've inherited, you know. And so connected to our conversation, our children have inherited Catholicism from us. Yeah. Right. Like, even in my second marriage, like my youngest child has inherited Catholicism because of the tradition of her two older children and like what we chose in my first marriage to a certain extent. And then like my luck and love and patience of my wife was like, all right, this is how you want to get down. Like, then this is what we're going to do. And so you want to move from just like humanizing to personalizing. Like, all right, here's the suite of things that I've been exposed to, but what do I believe? And how does that interact with what I see in the world, with my experiences, with who I want to show up, with how I want to express those values. And then the last thing is like developing congruence, which is not too disconnected. We've talked before about like identity fidelity on here, but it's a similar aspect as it relates to like your values. Like you're developing congruence, meaning that you're developing congruence between what you say you believe and what you say you value and how you actually show up and how you behave on a daily basis and in your regular life. And so like you would want there to be a measure of congruence. You know, like I think of it all the time in terms of like, if somebody met me and I said I'm Catholic, would they be like, what? Right? Like, would they, if they're,
would there be surprise?
Yeah. Like if they're surprised, they're like, no mother, like, no way. It's like, oh, maybe I haven't developed.
Well, you've shared that before.
Yeah, the measure of congruence that I would like.
I feel like people don't really, I think people are surprised less so. I think that it's Catholic and more so that you're Black and Catholic. Like when I say that I'm Catholic, I feel like that's what I get, particularly from other people of color.
Well, you're not from, if we were in the Northeast, people would just assume you're Haitian or like you're Dominican.
Okay, well, yeah, it's,
right?
Yeah.
Like it's a minoritized identities and Catholicism go together differently. Yeah, depending on what region of the country you're in. So I don't know. But like, I think that that's another important part. So like when we're talking about the development integrity vector, it isn't just about being religious. It's about like figuring out what you think is, it's figuring out your value system and how that relates to making you a whole person. Right. Like I think, I forget where it is. I hate attribution for quotes, but like a man has to have a code, right? Like that's, I don't even know where that's from, but it's like a statement I can just kind of hear working in the back of my head.
Like it.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, it's also another riff on like if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. Yeah. Right. Like you want to have integrity. You want to have a moral compass. You want to have a sense of what's right and good. And you want your behaviors to line up with that in a meaningful way.
So, you know, you say when you think about this sort of development of integrity and how that aligns with religious beliefs or values, how do you see your role in helping the kids figure that out? So, for example, right now, Maximilian is sort of like going through confirmation, and it has been an interesting process, particularly as someone who was born and raised Catholic and actually stepped away. And for a couple of years, I was like, yeah, I don't think that's for me. And then made the choice to come back to it. So there was an active, you know, I'm opting in. This is not just what my parents chose for me. And for him, I'm trying to like have these conversations. Like this is not just a go along to do the thing. Like this is about you and your relationship with God and religion and what you believe and what you value and what's important to you.
But he's a go along and do the thing type of person right now.
This is also true.
Yeah. And so like,
I feel like confirmation could wait. I don't know why we have it so early. I think it's...
Yeah, but even like guitar lessons, right? I would liken it to like, all right, you dropped me off at this place and I know I'm supposed to do this thing, but I will never pick up a guitar outside of when I'm at this place doing this thing. I feel very similarly about his religious identity. Like I would never see him touch a Bible outside of...
I almost bought them Bibles and I was like, is this just going to sit on the table and be wasted?
But I think about that in terms of, you know, there was a point in my life where I was a practicing Jehovah's Witness because of an aunt that I lived with. Mm-hmm. And I touched a Bible more in that period of my life than I ever did at any other point in my life because of the way that Bible study was operating, the way that, like, I wanted to know the word so that if somebody tried me, I'd be ready. And I still feel like that to a certain extent, but like I just don't have the dedication or like the space to really like study the word.
Yeah.
But I think of it similarly in like scholarly conversations, right?
Right.
Like, hey, I know for a fact, and I have the intellectual humility to know that I haven't read everything, but I have read a lot.
I've read a lot.
And that lot I can smell when you haven't read. Right? I'm like, where'd that
This gives the
like
whiff of you
yeah,
made
like,
it all up.
Where'd that come from? What framework are you referencing? When was that published?
Tell me more.
Who said that? Right? And so in the same way when somebody's arguing without attribution or like when somebody's just making it up off the cuff, they're trying to feel their way through
The conversation.
argument.
Yes.
I see that play out in religious circles like quite regularly. And I feel like our son is doing the same thing. It's like, all right, like I do this thing because it's important to my parents and I'm going to do it as long as they drop me off. If they don't drop me off, I'm not going to go.
I talked to him about that. And he's like, I haven't been to Life Teen. I was like, do you want to go to Life Teen? And he was like, yeah, of course. I was like, that is not demonstrated by the fact that Sundays come and go and you don't say anything.
Yeah.
So like, notice your sister. She's like, you dropping me off at the edge? Yeah. Because it's an edge day. Like there is investment. Now, is it because she wants to kick it with her friends and like be Miss Social Butterfly? Fine, I'll take it. But she's still invested.
But that matters, and that investment is part and parcel of what you're supposed to get from going to church to begin with.
What do you mean?
So if you ever read like, what is the cat who wrote Bowling Alone?
Bowling Alone?
Yeah.
Oh, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a sociologist. He's like really famous.
About.
But it's about like the devolution of
communities,
community,
right?
like in the United States writ large. And
Robert Putnam.
Yeah. So like church is one of those places where people gather.
Yes.
So like it's important to go to church. It's important to go to your bowling league. It's important to play kickball or dodgeball with the homies. Like it's important to show up in these spaces because of the social aspect. And so church ends up being, I laugh to myself because I really believe this, but I probably have to align my actions a little bit more with the fact that I believe this. But I was like, low key, church is like eggs, right? So if you're ever trying to do like body composition stuff and you want to eat better, like almost everything is going to be like, yo, eat eggs. Like it's like the ultimate perfect food. Egg whites are pure protein.
That has
you get the cholesterol balance. Like you should eat more eggs. I feel like religion is like the eggs of activities because you get community, you get moral development, you get interacting with people, you get this is how I should treat people, you get this is how I believe or what I believe, or you get like a testing ground for it and how that influences the way that you show up in all the different communities that you're in. You get to be a member of a team. You get to, hey, we all believe in something.
Yeah.
Right? It's so many like little vitamins packed in going to church.
My example is hiding the mixed vegetables in the spaghetti.
Yeah. Or like using the emulsion blender and putting like beans in your tomato sauce, right? Like, there's more fiber, but you don't even know. Like I'm hooking you up. But yeah, like I feel like church is like that. And so even if your impetus for going to church is, I want to see my friends.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah, like that's still good. And it's good to get there. And it's good to like see friends who are like struggling with some of the same moral questions that you are.
I'm just remembering now. Like that just unlocked a door, and I'm remembering, there was just a band of children who, like after church, when the girls would be talking, or if there was like a special occasion and there was pate downstairs, and just a band of children roaming the church together. Like,
yeah, you just kick it the home. Yeah, like it's a little Lord of the Flies, like Charlie Brown.
You end up in
like somebody has a blanket
back closet. It's like I don't think we're supposed to be in here. But yeah, I mean, I do think that the community aspect is important, and even here, somebody who I say is a good friend to me here in Columbia, like our regular check-in is at church, and like we'll sit after mass and. Obviously we see each other outside of that, but it is a touch point for the both of us. Several people, right? And so I do think that, religion is hard. It's hard to like finances or dating or any of these things. And when you combine them, right, it makes it even more difficult. But I do feel like it is understanding its value, understanding why it's important, and also understanding that it's going to look different for different people. So, I was talking to a friend and, mentioning that like yeah, I go to mass for Easter regardless of where I am. So I'm someone who sometimes when I travel and if I'm going to be there on a Sunday,
Yeah,
I'll find a church.
I love to do
It's
my.
actually one of the best parts.
I love to do my church voyeurism when I happen to be traveling during the big holidays. So I'm like, oh, it's Easter. I'm in Seattle. I'm gonna have to go ahead and find something.
A couple
it's
years
Christmas.
ago, I was traveling, and it's because Easter moves on the calendar too. So I never really know.
I don't remember Easter ever being the same weekend as Makari's birthday.
No,
and I think
new.
that's been
So right. So anyway, the point being is I was out of town. It's Easter, and I was like, I'm gonna go to this thing. Or when dating, I think is also really interesting. And this makes me think about our conversation for when we discussed the Love is Blind questionnaire, and one of the questions was about religion. It's such a broad spectrum, I think, is the other part that people don't talk about enough. Like, to say that I'm religious or to say that I'm Catholic means one thing to me. And that could be something very different than, my neighbor next door who might also be Catholic. In fact, what did Makaria ask me? It might have been about abortion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they mentioned abortion in Easter Mass.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, when they did the this is terrible because I should know and the word is just escaping me.
Homily?
No, it wasn't the homily. It's the when we all pray for the same thing.
Prayer of the faithful.
Yeah. So one of the prayers of the faithful was
pray for the end of abortion.
Yeah, the end of abortion. And I was like, whew.
I feel like the Chrissy Teigen,
yeah.
So she asked me that question, and I was like, okay, how do I answer in a way that's honest and truthful? And so I told her, I said, one of the doctrines or things that the Catholic Church says that we believe is that all life is sacred. And for people who are Catholic, that has been interpreted to mean at the point of conception. Now, when you take that outside of religion, there are differences in scientific opinion. Typically, for others, that might mean the point of viability. So when can this zygote that becomes a fetus actually survive outside of the mother? And that's, where some people sort of pick the definition of life.
Yeah, you draw the line where you like it.
Right. I mean, that there's often that. Some people are like, when it has a heartbeat, right? There are all kinds of different points where people come into this conversation, and the Catholic Church offers one. I will share with you, that's a place where I have conflict with my religion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in a woman's right to choose. I see abortion as a very personal, individual medical choice, and there isn't anybody who I think should have a right to tell you what to do with not just your body, but your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because having kids changes your life.
Are you gonna come raise this?
Please believe.
Are you?
No, they don't even want to. Yo, see, so
because childcare is expensive.
I don't want to do.
And my
us them.
son eats up all the food, all of it.
Yeah, I don't want to do us them, but I'm amazed at how many people would be like, "I am pro-life, but I am also anti-social support mechanisms." And
yes, I was watching something, and some woman was talking. My brain was
good job
like,
at self-censoring.
Nope,
there you go.
Nope.
You had like a Drewski skit pop off in your head.
We're going to put that in the show notes. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Throw it in there.
But she was saying, I think we had this conversation. Essentially, I think, the failure of the liberal left is, women having careers and going to college and doing all of these things instead of focusing on what the Lord put them on this earth for, and that's to have children. Everybody should get married right away, as soon as you can. You should all have children. You should have more children than you can afford. That feels so insidious.
I mean, it feels irresponsible too.
She's not having more kids than she can afford. She is one of them, right? You are coming from a position of wealth and privilege. You will never have to worry about childcare. But also, or whether or not your kids can have enough to eat, or how are you going to afford groceries at the end of this month.
I feel like there's nothing more stressful than having children that you sincerely wish to take care of that you don't feel like you can.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, so yes. Anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, even that, the conversation that you're having with Makaria is exactly, and we could put like a bow on the developing integrity vector.
Yes.
Right? Because that's what it is. You're asking yourself those critical questions. It's, what do I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, not just what do I believe, but like, why do I believe it? And is there wiggle room? Is there lived experience? Is there ideas that I
The
have?
church would say no.
Yeah.
And that's why this is a point of friction.
But it's that point of friction still, to a certain extent, dictates like your belief and value system still dictates your answer to the like, how should I treat people?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so because you might differ from the church in some spaces, you're going to be somebody that somebody can come to in a time of pain or crisis or concern.
True.
Like, hey, I identify as Catholic, but I'm not wholesale for every little nook and cranny of judgment that comes with a Catholic identity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having trouble in these spaces, like, you can come and talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, and that matters to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's important, right? They're communities within communities.
Yeah, for sure.
So all that to say, you know, we've talked about our identities. We've talked about how this shapes, you know, how we think about our development, what we say to our kids, what we want for them. So what are maybe some practical things that you've thought about and implemented, particularly as someone who is in a, you know, co-parenting relationship with two people who have very different religious beliefs and frameworks?
Yeah, I think that you have to be explicit about what's going on. Like what you believe and how it manifests. So I even think about the fact that I'm gonna do a little bit of snitchery on your dad, but like I remember, I'm like, oh, this family is very Catholic except for Serge. Like he gets
not.
yeah, and I was like, huh. I was like, how do I get the opt-out card?
You don't.
Like if I was like, I don't necessarily. But I can realize that, hey, I might not want the opt-out card, but that my children could be making the same meaning of me. Like, no, church just isn't dad's thing.
Yeah, they've said that.
Yeah, I was like,
church is your thing, Mom. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
your
like-
dad is Catholic.
yeah, like church is my thing. It's just and I will say this because it's connected to some other just kind of general worldview ideas I have, right? So like, I'm a belonging scholar. There are scholars who study belonging who do nothing in their actual real life to like make people feel like they belong, right? And so with my religious identity, I think of it similarly. Like, it's much more important for me to live my values in terms of how I care for people and treat people. And that's not me. I promise I'm not trying to give an excuse. I should be in church more. But like, I think that the reflection of my values, other than the words that I use to communicate, is that like, yo, I'm a person who loves people, who cares for people, who's patient, who creates communities, who stays connected, who doesn't ever use religious identity to exclude, but uses it actively to include. I think it's more important for me to live it than anything else. But that, like, I recognize in this conversation, part of living it is going to church.
Living it in the building,
Yeah, like
the room where it happens.
living it is how you treat the people, but living in it is also like being in the room where it happens, right? But like naming that and
Yes.
being explicit about it, like, hey, you know, even with my wife, some of the conversations were like, oh, is church important to you? And I'm like, yes.
Can
like,
I ask
what?
a follow? Is that a new conversation? Because I feel like this is new for us because we've
I don't.
touched on it, but not really. Like,
think
I
that
don't
it's-
know the last time we sat down and had an explicit come to Jesus literally conversation.
Yeah, I think that you end up in situations, as you do in all aspects of life, where it isn't until there's a disruption or you're kind of missing each other, or until like somebody says something and realizes the other person doesn't agree with it, that you actually
like, oh.
get and have the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even that, like, you know, we're getting ready for date night the other night, and our date night is on Wednesday nights right now. And that coincides with when Maya has religious ed classes. So my mom happens to be in town, so we could just go and start date night early, not worry about drop off or pickup or any of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, we should not do anything until after we drop Maya off at church class.
Right.
We could either figure out if we can get my mom to pick her up, or if we need to pick her up, then we just start date night afterwards like we normally do when she's not here. And Donna's like, oh, I just thought she could like not go. She was like, is it important for you that she goes? I'm like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, like it is important. And like, why would I waste time? Well, I didn't say all this part, so like, let me not like be out of school. But like the secondary and tertiary thoughts in my mind are like, all right, well, why would we make a point of taking her every week?
Right.
And
if it
why would
wasn't
we make
important.
a point of like, not only that, but we get tapped into the schedule with Maximilian and Macaria, where like, even if it's a night where we're not necessarily the primary parents, like we have to get them back and forth to religious education. Like, yeah, I think it's important. But, I could see how if based on whatever inertia and like my comfort, not necessarily showing up in the building, but like making sure the kids go, you could think that it's not important to me because it's more important what you do than what you say.
Right.
And I remember the easiest way to resolve that issue was, hey, well, let's just ask Maya. Like, let's ask her if she wants to go to church class. I was like, Maya, do you want to go to church class? She was like, yes. Like, what you mean? So like that's easy resolution.
Yeah.
But it is an opportunity to kind of reflect on the values. Like, yo, are we on the same page about this? Like,
Yeah.
And I do think that I feel very comfortable with my moral and spiritual development such that it's more important for me that the children go and are exposed to that than me myself. But recognizing the leading by example piece, but also that like, hey, we're in this together and I'm still figuring things out and I'm going to remain curious and I get something different from hearing the scripture all the time. I get something different from the homily all the time, depending on what I'm going through in my life. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not in the building, I can't get that. So like remembering to live that, but also remembering to share like, hey, this is a value of mine. Yeah. Like I take you to church and I take you to church class because I think that that's a really important part of your developmental identity. And we should be on the same page around that. Yeah.
So definitely naming it. I think the other thing, so our conversation about integrity made me think about, and Makari's question about abortion is, their religion is complicated and it's messy.
Very complicated.
Being Catholic is complicated and
extremely
messy.
Complicated. And when you see most news stories about Catholicism and you're like, oh my goodness.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
It must be like being a Knicks fan.
Yeah, why you take a shot at the Knicks tape? That's crazy work. Sorry, Uncle Patrick.
No, you know what? I was watching some movie, and the character was like, I've been messing with this team for decades. Oh, Soul. He fucks with the Knicks. And like, it's just a random aside in the movie. It's just like,
yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
But yeah, I think that when and this is a place I think where it's, again, easier for us to align. I think whether it's spoken or unspoken, religion is something, or religious foundation for our kids is something that's important to the both of us.
Yeah,
and so
it's a shared value.
Yes, I feel like, the value is the foundation, and then you figure out, the theology of it, right? And that could be, we go to Catholic church in mid-Missouri, and there's some things that you might hear or that get said that are like,
yeah.
I don't know about that one. In fact, I remember there was a mass where it was right after the supermarket shooting in Buffalo with the white racist guy, right? And this was a predominantly black neighborhood and supermarket. And so that had like just happened maybe that Friday or immediately prior to going to mass, like either that day before or that Friday before. And I remember sitting in church, and then one of the priests was talking about the homily. And essentially it was one of those like, we need to put aside our differences and come together. And what I heard was,
forget them blacks.
Right? Like racist things happen, but you just got to get past it. And I was like, this cannot be what he's saying. But that's what I was hearing in the like, we should just not be so upset. And sometimes things happen and we just got to let it go. And I was like, I know my race is what's making me interpret this message in this way. Because
this is going over the heads of countless people
most of these people
may not have even seen that news story.
Right. So I went to him after mass and spoke with him. And I was like, hey, Father Aaron, like you mentioned this thing. And so I don't know that you heard, but this had just happened like yesterday. And so when I heard your homily, it felt like you were diminishing this thing that just happened. And he was like, I did not know that had happened. I'm so sorry that, that's what this sounded like. It certainly wasn't my intent. So I'll make sure that I read up on it before the next mass. And I'll, adjust my remarks accordingly. And then he actually emailed me back later to say like, thank you for raising the issue. And so, some people might feel like, well, that's the priest and they're going to say what they say. And that's just how the church is. And there's nothing I can do about it, and just kind of let it go. And I feel like that's also one of the places where I know that my values in this community aren't always completely aligned with the other members, but that doesn't mean that they're not important, that I'm not going to stand for them and speak up when necessary. And so like in this whole conversation, I feel like we've got to like make sure our kids know that. Like, sometimes you might see things that are like, question mark. your values are the foundation. Religion builds on that.
Yeah. And like recognizing the ability to distinguish between values and theology.
Yes.
Right. So like we might have shared values. We might all value honesty, integrity, accountability.
That's another podcast.
Truth, justice,
In the American way?
inclusion,
Oh.
belonging,
All
not
buzzwords.
dropping bombs on things.
Whoa.
But whether we get there through religion or not is something different. And there needs to be room for negotiation and room for people to figure out like who they want to be and how they want to be together. I think we have to be open to kids asking questions. And I think your story about Macari is a good one.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
I mean, and it's like the challenge of raising smart kids, because I realize that all the time. Like I am a person who every time you see one of those things come across where it's like, I'm so happy that my daughter is a strong, independent, fierce fighter for the things that she wants, but can she just wait and use that on somebody else when I'm trying to just get her to bed? You know, like there's a piece of making sure that you're not silencing those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that like you engage your children as intellectual peers and partners.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, if you have a question, let's talk through it. If you have, I mean, even just normal life stuff, like if you want something from me, say it out loud, because more likely than not, I want to support you.
Yeah.
Like whether or not you think it's inconvenient for me, like let's have the conversation. Let's make sure that the lines for communication are always open, and know that my final expectation is never for you to just believe what I believe.
No.
Like I want you to develop your own compass so that you're good when I'm not there. And in fact, like I think that that's one of the greatest. It's hard not to think of it in terms of like scholarship, like outcomes. Like, all right, what are the outcomes of good parenting? Like one of the outcomes of good parenting is that I can trust you to do the right thing when I'm not there.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you carry yourself regardless of the situation or environment? And I think too, to your point, Michael, it's also like not having to have the right answer.
Yeah.
But what's more important in this situation is an honest one, right? Obviously it's age appropriate, depending on the context, but I think our kids benefit from seeing us think about and grapple with these things. And this belief or expectation that whatever your religious background is, like religion and religious leaders are fallible.
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 For sure.
Yes.
They're definitely fallible.
Right? And so, like, I think sometimes people forget that, and it becomes this like all or nothing thing. Like, oh, well, it says this, or I was told this.
I mean, even the idea that you can discredit somebody because they're fallible goes against a lot of like, hey, we're all sinners. We all make mistakes.
Literally.
We all need the patience and care of a higher power in order to live our best lives.
Everybody's everything says that. Like, hey, we don't have the answers, and like we're all just trying to figure this out, and ideally do better tomorrow than we did the day before.
Yeah. And I think that's the closing point too, right? Like the recognition that your religious and spiritual identity development is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
And that we're still learning, right? Like we're still learning how we want to show up. We're still learning like literally how we want to show up.
At the same mass to start.
But like thinking about like, all right, what am I trying to pass on? I'm trying to pass on a continued curiosity. I'm trying to pass on a constantly like almost like a recursively refining system of belief where this is what I believe and this is how I get it into my life and this is how I'm a better and better person every day.
Yeah.
Because of what I believe and because of how that shows up in the way that I treat people, in the way that I care for myself, in the way that I care for my family, in the way that I work hard, in the way that I show up with integrity. And so to me, it also comes back to this idea of how important it is to model that for your kids. Like to model curiosity, to model openness, to model that I don't necessarily have it all figured out and that I'm in this with you.
Yeah. You know, I feel like when I think about this conversation and the one we had earlier, I think like a lot of the other topics or issues we touch on here, like communication is so important to so many aspects of what we do and how we engage. And I think both communication about expectations regarding religion are really important. Because your kids are definitely like, church is your thing, mom. Pish posh. Like
pish posh. That's the
And you know, so that I can say like, no, it's not just my thing. It's my thing and your dad's thing, right? And like the way we practice it might look different, but that doesn't mean it's not.
Yeah. We're on the same
shared
page.
value.
We just don't. Yeah, it's like, this isn't a like go ask your dad situation. It was like, no, do what your mama said. Like, he's just playing games with my time now.
So yeah, so I feel like that's you know, one of the things that I'm taking away, and I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yeah, and I want to invite the community. Like, if there's something that you're thinking about, especially as it relates to your religious identity, like please have the conversation. Not only with your co-parent or with your actual husband or wife,
or even the person you're dating, because it all matters.
Yeah, like sit with it, be honest, be open, like be willing to make the time to really think about not only like religious and your religious identity, but like what do you want your kids to go out into the world with? Like, how do you want them to show up? What kind of people do you want them to be? And how is the way that you're modeling religious development and religious practice helping support that?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks for listening.
Tuning in to another episode of the Parents and Professors podcast. We will catch you next time.
Peace.
If this conversation resonated with you, do us a huge favor. Like the episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on all our socials. I actually be going crazy on Instagram, so that's the best one.
And please feel free to drop a comment below. Tell us what you liked, what you hated, where you'd like us to dig deeper, or even if you think we missed something. We're always learning and growing, and we want to make sure that we're creating content that resonates with viewers like you.
And most importantly, and this is a huge one, if you know somebody who could benefit from hearing the conversations that we're having on this episode, please share. Sharing is caring. We're doing this for the love and to build a community because it matters.
And at the end of the day, that's the most important part, creating spaces where we can have real, honest conversations about the things that matter to you: education, parenting, relationships, and everything in between.
So thanks for being part of our community. Go check out the catalog of other episodes if you haven't. And we look forward to seeing you next time on the Parents and Professors podcast.